Now we're on to the penultimate day, day 13. Starting off with crunchy granola with berries and cherries with a 500 milliliter glass of coconut milk. Mainly because the coconut milk is very, very high in unsaturated fats. And it also contains vitamin B, C, E, and K, and minerals iron, calcium, phosphorus, potassium, sodium, zinc, and selenium. 1,513 calories in total for the breakfast meal, and the phosphorus will help with the expenditure of energy from the breakfast meal. This will be followed by a 2-hour-long respiratory session in the form of swimming laps, where in the first hour they'll be given a 500 milliliter bottle of water to help them stay hydrated throughout the entire 2-hour session, followed by a snack of pumpkin seeds, which will be a 130 gram pot of pumpkin seeds, again mainly just to boost the calorie value up to 5,000. Then from 11 to 1 my athlete will be endured in a 2-hour-long gym session. At this time it's becoming very crucial that they work on their strength, because the competition day is very, very close now, so they need to make sure that they are at the peak of their strength. Then for lunch, a nice big salmon fillet with a protein shake. Very, very, very high in protein, so it's good for recovery from the 2 morning sessions. Very high in carbohydrates as well, so it's a nice source of energy from the potatoes. Vitamins C, B, and K, and minerals magnesium, sodium, selenium, calcium, phosphorus, and potassium. The potassium helps the balance of fluids in the body and also helps the heart muscles work properly, which would be good for the fartlek training session from 2 till 4, which would be very, very high intensity in short bursts, so the potassium that's consumed in the lunch meal will be very beneficial for that. The fartlek training session will also include a 330 milliliter bottle of water at 2 o'clock to hopefully help them stay hydrated throughout the entire session. After the fartlek training, I gave my athlete a cup of 135 grams of Brazil nuts and another protein shake, very high in protein to help with recovery throughout the day's sessions, and high in fats as well to help with energy expenditure, containing vitamins A and C and potassium, iron, calcium, selenium, copper, magnesium, and manganese. The manganese helps activate some of the enzymes in the body. Enzymes are the proteins that help carry out chemical reactions such as breaking down foods. This will help break down food throughout the day, and hopefully get more energy out of that food that we have consumed throughout the day. So that's close to 1,000 calories in that snack, which is very good because we're getting close to the target calorie value. Then lastly, the session in this day will be a flexibility session at 6, where they'll be given a 500 milliliter bottle of water to make sure they stay nice and hydrated. Then lastly, there's not too many calories in this meal, which is good because we don't want them to go too far over the calorific, the average goal of 5,000 calories in the day. So I gave them a tuna and sweet corn and cucumber sandwich with a protein shake to help with recovery. Very high in proteins to help with the recovery through the whole day, making sure they're nice and fresh for tomorrow's session, which will be the last session. High in carbohydrates and quite high in fats as well. In total, this day came to 4,974 calories, which is very, very good because it's only 26 calories off the targeted 5,000. Now the last day, day 14, so I wanted to make sure that they had a nice hour-long lie-in in the morning to make sure that they're nice and recovered for the day, because it will be the next day, day 15, which will be their competition day, so we want them to be nice and fresh. So I wanted today's session to still make them train, but not as vigorously as they have done previously. So I started off at 8 o'clock with apricots and almonds in coconut cream with a raspberry smoothie, high in carbs, high in fats, which will be good for energy expenditure throughout the day. This will be followed by a 2-hour-long session with swimming laps, helping with their respiratory system, which will be good, and it will also help with endurance as well, which will be very, very beneficial because you want them to be able to withstand the entire game in their game of rugby. At 11 o'clock after the swimming session, they'll have pumpkin seeds, again, literally just to boost the caloric value of the day up to 5,000. Then they'll have an hour-long break, and then again they'll eat at 1 o'clock liver, broccoli, and carrots with orange juice. Mainly, I gave this meal because of the amount of zinc that is in the liver, which helps process carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. So it basically allows my athlete to get the most out of everything that they've eaten throughout the day, because it allows them to extract the most energy from that food, which will be very, very beneficial for the outdoor cycling session at 2 o'clock, which lasts for an hour at a high intensity because it's over 200 kilometers an hour constantly for an entire 60 minutes, which will require them to have a lot of energy, which hopefully lunch will give them. This will be followed by a snack of Brazil nuts, equating to 135 grams, and another protein shake to help with recovery from the 2 morning sessions. My mistake, outdoor cycling sessions at 2, but you know what I mean. And it's also high in fats as well, containing vitamins A and C and minerals potassium, iron, calcium, selenium, copper, magnesium, and manganese. Quite high in calories as well, which is good. Then lastly, in the evening, there will be a vigorous gym session for about an hour. I don't want to push them too hard because I don't want them to be exhausted and unable to compete in tomorrow's competition. So and then that will be followed by an hour's long break, where they will finish off their 2-week diet plan with a nice flexibility session, a nice relaxing one, to make sure they're nice and stretched out for tomorrow's competition. And then lastly, at 7 o'clock, they will consume lamb, sweet potato, leek, and parsnips, high in proteins to help them recover from the day and make sure that they're nice and fresh for tomorrow's competition, high in carbohydrates as well, and high in fats. Not too important, the fats, because again, they don't really need the energy because it's the last minute of the day and they're not doing any exercise afterwards. Containing vitamins B, C, E, and K. Vitamin E helps maintain healthy skin and eyes and strengthens the body's natural defense against illness and infection. So, I didn't plan on this, but I guess the fact that having vitamin E in it could help to prevent from getting ill, so they are able to definitely compete on the comp day. And then lastly, the minerals that it contains is calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, potassium, sodium, and selenium. And selenium also helps to prevent from the damage of cells and tissues, making sure they're nice and ready for tomorrow's competition. And this has quite a high calorific value of 1,566 calories, making the day's value equate to 5,132 calories, which is slightly over, but it doesn't make too much of a difference because some of the days have been slightly under, so I feel as though this day would kind of balance it out to make it right. So an overall review of my 2-week diet plan, from what I can see, is that there's a good balance of calories on each day. There is a good amount of potassium because this helps the heart work properly, which would be very beneficial because if they keep on eating high amounts of potassium, then they'll be able to use the respiratory system a lot more efficiently, which will help them within their sport. I included a lot of vitamin E, which is good for the breakdown and release of energy from food, and it keeps the nervous system nice and healthy, particularly focusing on the release of energy from food allows them to get the most out of the foods that they consume. I try to balance the diet. If some days are under on calories, I would therefore make some days slightly over on calories to make up for it. I also made sure that I contained lots and lots of fluids within my client's diet to make sure that their hydration levels remained very, very elevated to make sure that they weren't dehydrated. And I made sure that I contained lots of unsaturated fats within my diet plan because I believe that it is a more efficient source than carbohydrates. So that's why I contained a lot of things like coconut milk and nuts and seeds because they are high in these unsaturated fats. Lastly, I feel as though I could have used sports drinks like isotonic, hypertonic, and hypotonic drinks with the diet to help before, during, and after sessions to help my client have that extra boost of energy and hopefully allow my client to recover at a slightly faster rate. That is something that I would make sure that I include if I do a second diet plan for another athlete. But overall, I feel as though I made a very thorough diet plan for my athlete. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for watching.